Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Cynical Marketers, episode 46. Thank you for joining us if you are here. We appreciate it. This week, um, this is Marketers for Marketers, I guess, but we were looking online
Yeah.
and we're in lots of places online, so we're always looking for ideas and what are people talking about. We have to stay up on trends, right? But we saw
Yeah.
a Reddit thread of marketers asking questions of other marketers. So we're gonna do these today and talk about some of this. So if you're not a marketer,
Yep.
this probably won't excite you, but we're going to talk about you because some of our answers have to do with you, the business owners. But
Yep.
we're going to go through these. So Nada picked out some ones that I think are great, and
Yeah.
we'll talk
We have
about them.
5 questions,
All
so
right, so
we'll
here
go
we
through
go. These
them.
are questions from marketers asking marketers.
Well, I think this is so we'll start with this one, Mike. I think it's a good one. What's a marketing hill you'll die on, even though everyone in your company thinks you're insane?
Okay, for me, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Go
attribution
for it.
is stupid. Attribution is stupid, a waste of time and money. And people way overthink it and worry about it way too much. And they spend money on crazy expensive products when you don't really need to.
Yep.
Maybe if you're a massive enterprise level brand and you have 1,000 or more different things happening, maybe you need to know. But for most businesses, you're not really doing that many things. You're not really that diversified in your marketing. You're doing some paid ads, you're doing some social media, you got email and blah, 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 right? Look, is it pretty good with what you got? That's all you need to know. You don't have to get down to triple whale levels, of cost and tracking everything, I think. I just think that attribution, people worry about it way too much. And with privacy changes and all the laws anyway, attribution just isn't as good as it used to be. So stop worrying about it. How much did you spend? How much did you make? That's what you need to track.
Yeah.
That's my
I
hill.
like that one. That throws me back to working at Winston Brands and the attribution model there, which was, by the way, that's a company that was very heavily catalog based, right? They started as a catalog company and
Yeah.
a great company, by the way. I'm not talking badly about them, but the attribution model there was so heavily skewed to catalog that it didn't matter what you did digitally. There was no moving the needle on email, website, any of it. So it was just such a, and I want to say an outdated, but it wasn't even an outdated attribution model. It was so skewed towards one channel. That like those are the things that you have to be aware of. This is what I tell people on the email and retention side all the time. When you are looking at, any of the tools, Klaviyo, Postscript, Attentive, and you're looking at how much money you've generated through email or SMS, understand the attribution model. Every single one of those
Mhm.
platforms like pumps up the attribution just because that makes them look better. An email will have like
Yeah.
a 7-day attribution window and you're sending one every day. That 7-day window doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I agree with
People,
you, Mike. I think
attribution
that's a
ends up
good one.
devolving into a fight for credit and then for people to save their jobs. And that's usually what ends up happening then
Yeah.
is like this team wants credit for that, or they're going to look worse and they could all get laid off. And that is always what happens then. It just ends up being a fight between teams over who really gets credit for something and for what. Just keep marketing. You're going to continue to do most of these things anyway. What are you really turning off or going to stop? For most businesses, like I said, unless you're
Right.
like Nike doing a bajillion things, for most
Right.
businesses, you got like 5 or 6 really core things. You're going to just keep doing those anyway. So
Yeah, you're going to
that's
be
why
fine.
for me. What's
Yeah.
yours? Nada, what's
I
your
like
hill?
that one. Oh my God, I don't know that I can think of one specifically, but like one thing that I would say that always used to drive me nuts is that, just send it is not a strategy. And like, cause I live in the retention bubble, right? Of like emails and SMS and the amount of freaking conversations, discussions, arguments I have had about being actual intentional with how you're targeting your customers. Um, it always blew my mind when people were just, let's just send the email to the whole list. Just send it. Like, can you not like think of the things from your customer experience? So no, I will not be sending anything to the full list. That is the hill I will die on. Like that just will not happen. Some customization needs to take place there. Even if you want to email your
That
full list, you still cannot talk
it's
to
somebody here
everybody on that list the same.
yeah, you just started working with somebody. We have a new client you just started working with where you cut like $40,000 a month out of their email and SMS spend because they were
Yeah.
just doing a nutty amount of
Blasting
batch
everybody.
and blasting.
Hmm.
No strategy,
Yep.
no thought,
Multiple
nothing,
times.
just yeah,
Yeah.
just panic
And it goes
sending.
back to the
And you're like, well,
attribution
that
because,
yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of money, but it's a big list. This business makes a pretty good amount of money, so it's a pretty large list. So then that's where it gets into
yeah,
like, yeah, like have some intention and some strategy and some thought, because I don't
it's
care who you
crazy though
are or how many
because,
millions you're making. $40,000 in a month, that's a lot of money.
yeah,
I don't care how much you're
it is
making.
a whole lot of money. It is.
That's when,
It's
yeah,
wild to because that was another attribution conversation where the client was like, but my PM sends to the same list are getting a higher revenue generated. Of course they are. It is going to the last campaign. The attribution will fall to the last campaign. That's the default of the program they're using. They're unattentive. And so we had to have that discussion. But yes, that is the attribution hill is definitely, I second that one big time. And then mine is, no, we're not sending to the full list. I do like this other question, Mike, that actually popped up multiple times on Reddit. What's a campaign you were sure that was going to crush it? And then it didn't do a thing. Like, have you ever had, like, are there big things you
yeah,
can
oh yeah.
think of?
I have failed, of
I know this
course.
one.
I know we're not allowed. No one on LinkedIn has ever failed anywhere or done anything wrong or made bad decisions, but
Correct.
um, I
Yeah.
have. There's one I'm still not
Just tell it.
going to talk about. There was a big one that I
Mm-hmm.
was part of.
Fair.
I still don't want to talk about, but um, there's another one that I always talk about that it was a lesson for me in customers and taste and stuff. And this was when we were at Grunt Style. Um, and it was a shirt design that I loved. It was a throwback of an old gym shirt, you know, from my day, your high school or middle school gym t-shirt, with your school on there and whatnot. So it was a throwback of that, but like in grunt style. So made it look like a grunt style high school gym shirt. And then like it had 1776 on it. It was a gray shirt and it was infantry blue ink. I can still tell you all about it because I loved it. I'm like, this is going to be so awesome. It's a throwback product. At that time, throwbacks to
Nostalgia.
were becoming popular. I thought that one was going to just sell and sell and sell. And we put it up and I'm just like waiting and waiting. And I immediately went and ordered one. And then at the end of the first day, we had 2 sales of it. And I was one.
One was them.
I'm like, wow.
One was you.
One was me. I'm like, well, that is a massive failure, and I'm like, here's a lesson too, in that like just because I like something doesn't necessarily mean everyone else will. So you got to get out of the way sometimes, and like you'll look at things and be like, well, I don't know, that doesn't really make sense to me. This is where I have turned into now. I'm like, I don't know, let's try it. Who knows? I think this might work. I think it might not, but I am much more open to really just test an idea now, like because you just don't really know. And even when you're an expert or a subject expert on your audience and stuff, you're still going to have misses and get things wrong. So, and don't be so married to your own ideas either. That's another thing, man. Like, you can't be so married to your own ideas and thoughts where you certainly want to
You
advocate for
need to be able
yourself.
to
But in
pivot when
our
things
industry
don't
here
work
that's
out.
creative, yeah, you got to be able to be
Right.
flexible and move because again, it's more about the audience and the customer
Yeah.
taste than your own. And you
Than
might
your
just
own.
be
Yeah,
off
for
on this
sure.
one. So try it out and just see. And a t shirt brand, what's the harm? Throw it out there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
If it fails, pull it down and try again.
Yeah.
So that was one for me.
Yeah. There were campaigns, email, SMS campaigns that I thought would do really well, that I was thinking like would do really well. Things around sweepstakes, to collect email addresses. That used to be a big thing. And it kind of over time, I think just, stopped being a thing that people kind of caught on to the fact that you're doing this to collect their information. Oh God, I don't know. I feel like I can think of so many. That is a really good one. A little bit of a difference between things that you do and things that I do, I guess, is also that like a lot of what I'm doing in retention is driven by like the design and the overall campaigns that are going on for the brand and different things, right? So it's kind of hard. Like I can't put a finger on one thing that I was like, oh, I was like willing to, like I was rooting for that thing and it failed. I don't know, but yeah, I remember the shirt that you're talking about, Mike, from Grunt
I was
Style.
so
I remember
disappointed.
that.
I'm
I
still
remember that
disappointed
experience.
today.
Yeah.
Probably been 7 or 8
Yeah.
years now. I'm still
It's been like
disappointed
8 years, Mike.
today
I'm going
about
to
that
need you to
shirt
get over
failing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
there's so many. And I do think that, like, you're so right. Like, nobody in our space wants to talk about things that fail, and there are so many, I mean, like, on top of my head, I can think of like companies rebranding their logo and like, different things, whatever. But anyway, I can't think of
You're
a
gonna
specific
fail
one,
in
but I do
marketing
really
and
like your on
creative.
that one. Oh, you're going to fail
Things will
all the
fail,
time.
and it's
Like, you
okay.
just need to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super hard,
This
like,
is,
and I learned that, like, when I was a CMO, like, you had to give room for people to fail and not think I'm about to get fired.
mhm.
Now we work as consultants now, and there is no room for us anymore. There is no room for consultants to be wrong or fail, and if we do, then you're out probably, but um I know, and when I was in business and working at a place, yeah, and that was one of those lessons again of trying to get out of the way as the lead, where you're like, I don't know, we got these people,
Yeah.
let them do their jobs, right? They're excited, let
Them
them
do
do
their
their
jobs.
jobs,
Yeah.
get out of the way. And if they fail, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, did you? And this was like Dan Alarich's thing too, is like, let's look at why there was a failure. If it wasn't like an intentional thing, you didn't do something crazy stupid on purpose
Right.
that's just so egregious that you're like, hey, I question your judgment now,
Yeah.
But hey, you
Yeah.
went in this, you had a good idea, you had a good plan, you put some effort behind this, you thought about it, and it just didn't work. Okay, hey, that's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
And that's
All
gonna
right.
happen. That's so gonna
Lessons learned.
happen.
Yeah,
Oh, Jinx, we said that at this time.
I know.
So this next one, I feel like I could go on for hours, but this was this was a really good Reddit thread. What's the industry best practice that you secretly ignore because it never actually works? And I
Mm,
have one. This is one that I've argued with people over multiple times, especially at my
mm.
time at Noggin. So I'll go first on this one, Mike. So
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
me, again, living in the retention world, right, and primarily focused on email, when people tell me that I need to A/B test subject lines, it drives me absolutely freaking bonkers because it
Yeah.
used to be that subject lines made a difference, right? It used to be on how you get the folks to like engage with you and whether you had a percentage off, dollar off, like what words were you using? What was the CTA that was a compelling enough in a subject line? And people were testing like personalization, including your name in the subject line or your city or your whatever, right? For different purposes. And the interesting thing, it used to make a difference. I've been doing this for like the last 24 years, right? And it used to make a difference. Subject lines used to be the differentiator, right? Of how an email performed. And that was when, nobody cared and every email landed in your inbox, right? So now, and there have been studies done on this by people who do, like Neil Patels of the world, right? That show that subject lines do not make a difference anymore. It is your brand domain authority that makes a difference whether you land in an inbox. It doesn't matter how many percentage off, whether it's capitalized or if you're putting somebody's name in a subject line, none of that matters anymore. There have been cases documented, like studies of bigger marketing agencies that have done this, that show that personalizing the subject line, meaning adding a first name or anything like that, and like what you test the subject lines, emojis versus no emojis, percentage versus dollar off, none of that actually makes a difference. The customer does not even read the subject line. Like in most cases, they just won't even register that. They'll see the brand that is in the inbox. And if they like your brand and they're loyal to your brand, they'll open, regardless of what the subject line is. I will die. This is maybe the marketing hill I will die on. You do not need to waste your time testing subject lines. It's just not going to
I agree. I think
make a difference. It's not going to move the needle for you one freaking bit that is significant enough for you to spend time on it. If you're going to test anything, test content, test deliverability times, test audiences, there's a million things you can test in email that do not involve
offers.
the subject line. just don't waste your time. Like, it's not worth
And
it.
I think that
And that is my,
the from thing, because you think like people have their cell phone, right? So when they get the notification email pops up, they're just going to look, and it's not like they're reading or doing anything. People look and like, who's it from? Oh
right.
gosh, you again? Swipe,
Yep.
delete, So yeah, I think you're right.
Archive.
I think for me,
Yep.
there's a lot of things I ignore, but one of the ones for me, honestly, is a lot of social media advice that's out there. Mostly, I don't listen to, and because I think most of that social media advice revolves around people talking about entertainment social media accounts. And there are not that many people out there that actually do social media for businesses. So most of that advice and what people think are the best practices um, is focused too much on their hooks and like your quick Mr. Beast cuts and edits and stuff, and you're trying to make something that's entertainment social media. Where I kind of ignore that, and I'm like, hey, when you're doing business social media, you're more talking to your customer, your potential clients, those people,
Right.
and you need to explain to them how you're the solution to whatever their problems are, their issues are, right? And being authentic and consistent matters much more than the coolest new edit. Are your captions
Yeah.
right? Did
Are
you
your
dance the
hashtags?
best? Because I've asked that. Like, if you're a small business looking for an accountant now to help you with your taxes, do you
Yep.
find the accountant that had the best dance video? Like, none of that stuff
Yes. No.
matters.
I want my
Not on from the
dentist to
business
know how
side.
to dance,
It
Mike. I don't know.
Right, I know. Oh my gosh, my dentist does the funniest sketches. Does
Yeah.
he? Okay, that's
It's crazy.
awesome. How does he have so much time? Why does he have so much time to film all
Yeah.
these things? Like, what are they doing? What are they doing in that place? Like,
Yeah.
you know? So that stuff that I ignore is because that and it's always the loudest advice too, but and then we have to deal with business owners who only ever see that too, and they think that way. We spend a lot of time educating people
Yeah.
on the difference between entertainment social media and business social media, and they are
Right.
two very different things with very different goals
Yeah.
and very
Absolutely.
different, methods for being viewed. That's what I ignore, among a
Right.
lot of things. I'm kind of a haughty, elitist prick thinking I'm the smartest person in the room. So I ignore a lot of stuff that I hear.
Y'all, it's true. He
I
really
tend to
does. No,
think.
I'm joking, Mike. Sorry.
I tend to think
Yeah.
my ideas are
So
better.
on that note,
You know,
Mike, if I'm sorry, but I'm only laughing because this is partially true. Um, so on that note, Mike, if your CMO said you had to double revenue, but you had to use only half of your budget, what's your first move?
oh, get your resume cleaned up and put together because it's probably not
Yeah,
happening.
that's what you're
And
doing. You're looking.
this is the thing.
Your
A lot.
first move is to start looking
Yeah,
for
and I start
for a new
looking.
job.
You're
Yeah,
losing budget.
that's
Bad
fair.
sign. Bad sign. Here come headcount cuts and
And you need to
reductions.
double
And if you're not
revenue.
getting the budget and you're supposed to now,
Yeah,
like, all of a sudden be twice as effective. So, like, your return on investment now has to double out of where? And with less money, what do you want me to do?
we have to
We
like
were already
quadruple,
probably
right?
doing things,
With
and now
less
you're
money.
asking me to do less, but make that less. I had this at Grunt Style when we had one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in business was agreeing to take um, private equity money, and we let those vampires
Hmm.
into the business. Um, that was one of their things is they wanted to like cut back on all these things that we were doing that were revenue generating activities that you could directly attribute to revenue. And they're like, we need to cut back on this. I'm like, it's direct response advertising. I don't understand what you don't get. Like, if we cut back on that, sales
Yeah,
go down. What are you replacing it with? You have
yeah,
to get the views. You need impressions. You have to be seen by people. It doesn't just magically happen. And I had a client in
yeah,
Florida who wanted this a couple of years ago. CEOs had a goal of doubling
yeah.
revenue, and they didn't have a marketing department. So he's like, hey, we're going to start marketing now. We've built this business with just an outside sales team, and they're doing well. Like, they were
Right.
a what, 7-figure business, doing well, family owned
Yeah,
business. But he wanted to double revenue in the next 5 years, and with marketing now, right? I'm like, great, you're at the right plan. You're at this thing to take off from here. You've built a base. Like, this is going to be great. We can do this. Oh, but without really a budget. We're going to
yeah.
hire
Good
one
luck.
person. Like, what? What?
Yeah.
It took you 30 years to get to this number, and you have how many salespeople? You guys never stop hiring salespeople, but now you just think we're going to hire one person
Right.
in marketing and you're going to all of a sudden just double revenue? You need to
It's
invest, and we need to start.
insane.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, no, if they come to you with
Yeah.
that, it's a bad sign. You need to start looking.
It is
It's not going to
definitely
get
a bad
better.
sign. And it was interesting. The comments in the comments were interesting, right? Like people were talking about leaning into organic social, which is like, why would you not be doing that already?
Yeah, why
So
weren't
like
you
when I hear a
already? Yeah,
question like
where were you?
this, I'm thinking like we're doing all the things already, and now we have to continue doing all the things, but we'd have to budget. So immediately my mind goes to like paid media, right? Like where's bulk of your budget if you're doing marketing like we did for, the clients at Noggin, or we did at Grunt Style or whatever, where a bulk of your budget went to either like events or paid or, the different tech stack tools. So if you're like overwhelmingly people's answer on Reddit for this was leaning into doing more organic. But if you have the bandwidth to do more organic, why are you not doing that already? Right?
Why
Like
weren't
that
you
would be
already?
my question.
That's the thing. Like,
Yeah. And
if
on the
you had
retention
levers that
side,
you,
people were saying,
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
now, if you had levers previously that you could have pulled or been doing, if there were activities you could have been doing to even be more effective, even at that previous budget level, you were out there saying you
Yeah.
could have still increased your revenue. There was some lever you hadn't pulled yet. Like now that you've cut your budget, what exactly are you going to do? Because now you're probably going to rank your activities and say what brings in the most revenue, and we're going to cut the bottom ones to get to this activity level. But now, how are you saying there's more revenue potential in this group of activities we're going to keep? Then why did you just allow it to not have that revenue potential previously? What
Right.
were you doing?
And that was
Why is it now all of a
that
sudden going
was
to
the
be
thing
more
too.
effective?
That was the thing too. People were saying like, we'll lean more into organic. We'll lean more into email and SMS and segment better and maybe send, update flows and offer cross sells and, upsell products and things like that. And I was reading through the comments and I was like, but I feel like, but why are you not doing that currently? Right. So like if you truly were asked, like if one of our clients came to us today and said, hey, I only have half the budget going forward, but I need, in order to stay in business, I need to double my revenue. I would, Mike, as you say, I almost feel like that is the time to start looking someplace else.
Yeah.
That is so, I
Yeah, on the
guess like
client side.
but we're both on the
All right,
same
man.
page of like,
Well, that's
if
not a
you are ever
problem, but
asked this, start planning your exit. But here's the
if
thing
you
though,
own a
too,
business and
I
you're in
thought
that
the
position,
things
you
that were,
you better get out.
yeah. I thought it was interesting. I thought the things that people were saying were kind of interesting, but also very common sense like. Like I don't it
Yeah.
seems to me, I'm like, well, why would you not be doing that already? Right? Like, oh, we would go live on social and we would leverage the organic things more. Okay, we'll do that anyway, So
Why
if you
weren't you
are a
already? I know.
business that is like, man, how do I spend less on marketing but make more? And you can come up with a list of things to answer that question, then you should be doing those things already. Like, if that makes sense,
Those
right?
are the
Like,
things
if
you
you
should be
are a
doing right
business
now
that is like,
already.
I need to
You
cut,
have levers you
yeah,
control for revenue,
like,
and you're not doing it. I don't understand why.
yeah,
And this
yeah,
is the thing for
exactly.
every business
And
who's
so
out there.
that's,
If you want to have more revenue, you need more customers then, right? Or like, how are the ways to grow revenue? You can get more customers, or maybe your current customers, you can get them to purchase more, like increase your average order value, or you can increase your lifetime value. So like you get a customer to repurchase maybe more often a little bit, right? Or you have to acquire new customers. The only way to grow is to acquire new customers because those other channels, they deteriorate. Growth only comes from acquiring new customers. So how are you going to get new customers? You got to be seen by more people. You have to go out to audiences you haven't been talking to yet. You're going to have to go out and talk to people who don't know who you are, who haven't seen you. Or maybe they've seen you and they didn't want to purchase before. So now what are you going to do to convince them to purchase now? Like it doesn't just happen. You don't just all of a sudden get more effective. So, and revenue doesn't just walk in the door, business owners. You have to do something for it.
it'd be great if it did,
So,
though. I
yeah,
don't know.
awesome.
But if you had to delete,
Yeah.
if another question, so one left, and we'll kind of wrap this up. But if you had to delete every flow except one in an email or SMS campaigns, which would you keep?
Ooh,
And I have mine on this.
abandoned cart.
I am
Yeah.
abandoned cart.
I know
Why?
you and I disagree. And well, I
Yeah.
know.
Yes,
Well,
we do.
for me, it's abandoned cart because I've got somebody there who is saying, I saw what you were offering and I liked it enough to click on it and come visit your site or your offer. So I checked that out, and then I was interested enough in this product then to add it to my cart. So we're getting there, right? Like, we're close. I've got somebody. There's somebody interested. There's somebody who's saying, I might want to give you some money, you know? So it's like a warm lead. And I don't want them to float away. And if I only had one, then I'm going to try to go back and re-engage at least these people who did click and say that they were more interested than somebody who just had an impression on me and didn't do anything. So they're much closer
Yeah.
to a purchase than anyone else out there. I want to try and push as many of them over the finish line as I can. That's why I would say abandoned cart.
Yeah. Mine is a welcome flow. I would keep the welcome. And so, but for me, there's a caveat to this in which that welcome flow needs to be executed flawlessly. Like, you don't have room. So like, typically people will sign up for email or SMS because they'll get a discount on their first purchase, right? This is their first interaction with you. They're coming to your site. We've all seen the pop-ups, give us your email. You'll get 10, 15, 20, 30% off, whatever it is. And if your only leverage in a welcome flow is that intro with a discount, then no, keep the abandoned cart flow. But I think if a welcome flow is done properly, it really does intro the person into the brand, and you have the opportunity to not just give them a discount for the first purchase, but also tell them what you're about, tell them why they should shop with you or do a service with you, or whatever it is. You can be a service or a product-based company. Like, you have the opportunity to now educate somebody who was interested enough to give you their email and phone number, to educate them and lead them through, as they say, through the funnel, which I hate using that phrase, to a purchase, right? So it is that first impression that you're making. And if they've liked you enough, or they just wanted a discount, whatever it may be, but they've given you their email and phone number, use that wisely. Create a flow that makes sense for that first interaction for the customer. Give them the discount if that's what you led with to begin with, to get the email and the phone number, but then really optimize the rest of that flow to introduce them to who you are, to your products, your services, and let them sort of pull that like emotional lever a little bit to let them like lead them to a sale. But it has to be done right. And I see people like half-assing welcome flows all the time. So I think those were kind of the top two in the Reddit thread as well.
Yeah.
Another one was cross-sell, that people would keep the cross-sell or upsell, I don't know. Those were not big selling points for me.
I mean, for me, it's like
there's a lot of brands we worked with when you'll have like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of brands we worked with where we know like people will purchase from once, and like a bulk of your customers are one-time customers. And like Mike, you were saying, like, how do you get more customers? You always need to acquire new. So for me, it'd be the welcome flow. But do it well. And if you don't know how to do it well, Google it, DM us. I don't know, do something, but do it well.
All right. Those are 4 questions.
Those were the questions, Mike. I have no more.
We'll put those in the comments, or I think it was 5 even. We'll put them in our description. So if you don't want to listen to me yammer here, you can just straight up answer them. We'd love to hear from marketers. What were your thoughts? Salespeople too. Some of these might be sales oriented a little bit, but we'd love to hear from you guys. But there we go. That's another episode in the can, as they say in the industry. Yep. Little inside talk for everybody. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in.
6 more and we're at the year, Mike.
I know, end of the year is coming up. I can't believe it. So, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.